Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. Wow. Yesterday in my live stream, just said that they left us on a cliffhanger. I mean, they really left us on a cliffhanger. And they did. Before I get into the episode, there's a couple of things that I do got to sit there and address. I feel like the writers are trolling the audience in a sense, right? Like, they are really leaning into the whole everybody hates Drew and Willow because blah, 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 right? And they are doing this on purpose. I want you to think about something. Everyone saw that preview early, and everyone had this visceral reaction of, oh my God, they're going too far, and it's horrible, it's vile, it's this, it's that, and it's the third. And I said in my stream yesterday, and I stand by this, that the people that are doing that are taking this to a level where it's not really that serious, it's a TV show, I think that people need to calm down. I feel like sometimes with GH fans, when you see stuff like this, it makes me wonder, is that they want to be Y&R fans, right? Like, Y&R is a lot more mellow, it's a little more watered down in a sense, it's a little more toned down. GH, you watch GH because it's GH. But the problem is, when GH decides to act like GH, people want to sit there and complain about it. And I'm just like, you could just watch Y&R, because I feel like sometimes when stuff like that happens, it's like, well, it's GH being GH, There's other, what I'm saying? Like, Y&R is a lot more of a toned down show. So it just makes me always wonder, like, we watch GH for a reason. All four of the shows have a different energy. And it just makes me wonder sometimes, like, when people say that they went too far, it's like, they really did. They did the same thing with Ava years back, and it really wasn't as bad as, I think it was the music that made it a lot more intense and a lot more worse than what it was. Just my personal opinion. But yes, the writers are definitely trolling the audience because they know that the audience does not like Drew and Willow. So what do they decide to do? They decide to show Michael practically getting burnt alive while Willow and Drew are having hot, sexy, steamy sex. I mean, if that's not a slap in the face of the audience, I don't know what is. But I know that they knew what they were doing. They did that intentionally. Now, watching the previews, people were upset with Jason because they're like, why is Jason sitting there holding Sonny back? And I'm like, well, he's holding him back because there's a reason for that. And I got to sit there and give it to Jason. There's very few people that can sit there and be very calm and cool under pressure because he held Sonny back for a reason. He went back, he got a blanket, and then he went back in there and wrapped Michael in the blanket so this way he can put out the fire. Because in reality, what was Sonny actually going to do? I mean, I get it. Sonny's a parent, and that's just his first instinct. And Jason loves Michael like his own son. But, he had to sit there and think quick. So I give it to Jason for, yeah, he has to sit there and pull Sonny back, but he did it for a reason. And again, while that's going on, you have Willow and Drew having, steamy sex. Now, I don't feel bad for Willow, because there's a point where Willow stops and she's thinking about what's ahead, right? Think about what's ahead and how did we get to this point? How did we get to this point where she feels that Michael was not there threatening to take the kids? And I'm like, how are you even asking this question while you're in the bed with the man who, like, you're asking how did we get to this point? Well, why don't you take a look next to you? That answers all your questions right there. It's such a stupid question to ask that you're just like, are you intentionally trying to make Willow look worse than what she was? Now, I do got to sit there and say that After Willow's with Chase, Willow just became a very boring character with Michael, right? And it kind of made them both boring. But now it's like they're making Willow hated and stupid, but I will sit there and say she's not boring. Anyway, they got Michael to the hospital. Um, and eventually Carly finds out when she's having dinner with Brendan, talking about Jocelyn, about the fire and everything, that she gets down there and she is scared and nervous, and she finds out what happened. She blames Sonny. And she's like, listen, this happened because she was around you. See, that's the thing about Sonny, right? All these women want to sit there and praise Sonny to an extent, but then when shit goes bad and somebody's in danger just because they're next to Sonny, then it's like, oh my goodness, this is who Sonny is. Sonny is just it's one of those things where it's like y'all cool and comfortable around Sonny until something happens, and then it reminds y'all why y'all shouldn't be so cool and close to Sonny in the first place. Michael was there, like he got hurt once again just because he was around Sonny's orbit. So all the people that sit there and love Sonny and this, that, and the third, and all the characters, it's like Sonny is literally almost the incarnation of Walking Death. Um, Lucas sees Michael and everything, and when they're about to sit there and start surgery, Lucas backs out. He's like, listen, I can't do this. This is, I don't know, his nephew or whatever. He's like, I can't do this. So Isaiah's like, fine, but you're gonna have to sit there and kind of guide me through this. And I'm glad that Lucas did that, because if you're not sure going in to a surgery like that, don't do it. Now, eventually, Jocelyn gets there. After looking at the gun for like, I don't know how long, and I'm kind of just like, I felt like after a point, it was just they wanted to pad the episode, because I'm like, well, what are you going to do with that, Jocelyn? You clearly didn't sit there and tell Trina about them when you were trying to get her out. So what are you going to do with it? Anyway, she gets there, everyone gets there, and they want Lucas to sit there and explain what's going on. What was it? Third-degree burns over 40% of his body. And Lucas is like, you don't know. We don't know if he's going to make it or not. Obviously, he's going to make it. Okay, I just want to be very clear about this, because I've seen the trailer a number amount of times, and people are just like, I hope he's not going to die. They're not going to kill him off, are they? People don't understand something. And most people do know, but for the people that don't know, Frank did this on purpose. He left it open, says this way in case Chad Duell decides he wants to come back, because he did sit there and say, I'm not going forever, it's just for a little bit. He wants to sit there and take some time off. His son is born, he wants to be a father, and he's still grieving the loss of his own father. So it gives him the opportunity if he wants to come back, or if they want to sit there and recast. And I think this is kind of the best way to sit there and go about it. Because while people are sitting there saying that it's extreme, it's too much, how many times do we sit there and see a legacy character go in the most boringest BS way possible? AKA Luke Spencer. Remember the first time he left? That was a really shitty exit. And then when they killed him off, they did it in such a bad way. Okay? It's like, yes, we knew the actor was not going to come back, but they did it in such a lame way. People can sit there and say that this was too much if they want, but it drove story and it made it interesting. I mean, people couldn't wait to sit there and see what's going to wind up happening next. And they did that. They delivered. Let's put it this way. I'd much rather see this way of him going out than some boring ass way of how they usually sit there and send these characters off. It's boring. I don't want that. That's the reason why I watch General Hospital. If I wanted something more boring, more tame, more lame in a sense, I'll watch Young and the Restless, which I do, by the way. So, GH being GH, I'm here for it. Now, Curtis is trying to stop Nina from making a damn fool out of herself, and Lena is doing what Nina does best, blame Drew for everything. Willow's the innocent party, blah, 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 blah. You know how that goes. Curtis wants to stand out both of them to secure his position because apparently him getting the company isn't enough. Apparently some people think that he can't handle the job, and I mean, oh, you don't have the experience. So it's not like it's you know, it's not surprising, but he wants to ruin Drew's career even more to make sure, hey, listen, he's not a good candidate. Okay, I'm the best candidate. So he's still being his villainous, dickish way. And Nina don't want that because Nina's like the fallback's going to be on Willow. It's going to be too much. Um, Curtis gets a call, letting him know about Michael. Michael tells Nina. Nina tells Willow and Drew's. Now they know. And now the whole town is mad at Willow and Drew. So, well, the whole family is. Okay, so let's get to Brooklyn real quick because I feel like there's so much stuff in here that I'm going to forget something. So, turns out that she did get pregnant in high school and she gave up the baby. So, yeah, they are inserting that in there when she was a camp counselor because she's all worried that like God is punishing her because she gave up her first child and stuff like that, and Lois has to sit there and talk her down. So yeah, now they're inserting this new history. I don't think it's a retcon though. I don't think they're retconning it because we don't know a lot about Brooklyn. I mean, the first time that she debuted was played by a different actress. I don't remember her name. So I wouldn't sit there and say it's a retcon. They just inserting more um, stuff into her story. I did disagree with Lois when Brooklyn felt bad for not telling Chase about, her first child and stuff like that. And Lois is like, oh well, he doesn't need to know that. That's before you were together and stuff like that. Like that's your story and your story alone. And I disagree with that because you're married at this point. And when you're married, you're supposed to share everything. You are literally one unit. So I wholeheartedly disagree with Lois and she was like, oh well, you don't have to tell him. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Chase is going to feel something different when he finds out. Which Chase and Sasha was having it was an okay scene. I could have kind of done without it, but again, you have to sit there and pad the show, just like they did when they were talking about Jocelyn and Carly worrying about Jocelyn and everything like that. It was just padding until they got to that point. Um, Chase is just kind of worried that he's putting more pressure on Brooklyn, and when he finds out that Brooklyn already had a child, I don't know if he's going to be so hard on himself. This stemmed from Gregory and wanting to honor his last wishes and everything. And I am clearly looking at the wrong paper. I will sit there and say this much though. Because, Willow is worried and stuff like that. She's going to lose her children, and Michael is all powerful and everything like that. And, I do get the sense that they are trying to make it come across like Michael is the villain with those two because he's threatening to take care, he's threatening to take the children and stuff like that. And of course, he's not. Most men would probably, other men would do something like that because, let's be honest, sometimes when we get in our feelings, we do things based off of emotion sometimes. Um, but my whole thing is that I feel like if Chad wasn't leaving, then we probably would get more of a custody battle, and it'll be this whole thing back and forth. So, I don't know. I guess this kind of works out more better. He gets to sit there and take some time and actually deal with his grief. We get spared a custody battle, which is great. And, I don't know. I kind of feel like it's a win-win for everyone in a sense. Now, I feel like that's pretty much about it for the most part. Now, I also don't want to sit there and make this video longer, so we'll continue talking about this tonight in my live stream, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and we'll sit there and talk about all the other shows besides GH, which is Young and Restless, which, Young and the Restless is kind of hard to recommend to people, but at the same time, if you don't want stuff that's a little bit too heavy like this, then maybe The Young and the Restless might be a little more appropriate. Days of Our Lives and Bold and the Beautiful. We'll talk about all of that tonight, and I'll see you in the next video and hopefully live stream.